Alright, we've created our floor and we've sized it to scale to be 192 inches wide by 144 inches. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to turn on the grid. Now this is an optional step. You don't have to use the grid. So if you're in a hurry and want to do a quick mock-up of a room, you don't have to use it. But if you do want to take your time and be very precise in your measurements, you may want to use the grid. You can show the grid in a number of ways. You can click on View at the top, Grid, Show Grid. There you can see the grid now. And if you want to turn it off, click on View, Grid, Hide Grid. You can also show the grid by right-clicking on your canvas. So if I right-click, I can see the Show Grid option here at the bottom. There. There's another place where you can either turn on the grid or turn it off, and that is in the Properties window on the right. Now if you look over on the right, you'll see the Properties tab. If you place your mouse on the Properties tab, the Properties window will open up. Now I like to keep the Properties window open when I'm working on it, so I will click on this middle icon here. It looks like a push pin. There, and now my Properties window will stay open. If you're working on a PC, that middle icon will look like a push pin. If you're working on a Mac computer, it will be the middle dot. It will look like a dot. If you look at the bottom of your Properties window, you're going to find your grid settings. And this is where you can show or hide your grid by clicking on this button. Now notice that the grid lines are spaced every 6 inches. You can change that. For example, if you wanted the grid spacing to be every 12 inches, just type in the number 12, and after you type, remember to hit your Enter key. There, and you could see how the grid lines did change on the canvas. Now if you've decided to use the grid, you might want to be able to see those grid lines through your floor. Well, that's no problem. Just highlight your floor. There, and notice how your Properties window got filled in with some new information. You can actually make this floor translucent. So up here is your Fill Opacity slider bar. I'm going to move this slider over to the left so I can see through it. There. Great. Now I just want to do a couple of other things before I start designing. And one thing is I want to close my Properties window. And in order to do that, I will just click again on this middle icon. If you're on a PC, it looks like a push pin. If you're on a Mac, it'll look like the middle dot. So I'm just going to click on it and close my Properties window. There. Now the other thing that I want to do is I want to align my floor to the grid. Now an easy way to do that is just to use the arrow keys on your keyboard. So if I just want to nudge that floor downwards a little bit, I'm going to click on the down arrow on my keyboard. Now watch the floor move ever so slightly down. Actually, I'm going to zoom in so you can see this better. There, I have more of a close-up view. I'm going to click on the downward arrow button so you can see my floor ever so gently go to the grid line. And once I have the floor positioned where I want it, I want to lock it in place so that I don't accidentally move it. Now before I lock down my floor, I'm going to move it a tad to the left by clicking on the left arrow key on my keyboard. There. Now I'm ready to lock this rectangle in place, lock my floor in place so that it doesn't accidentally move. And in order to lock it down, make sure that your object is highlighted, which it is. You can see the little blue squares. And then just click on the lock icon right up here. And I will lock my floor down. There, and you can see how the handles, those little blue squares, turned into little locks. Alright, I'm going to zoom out so you can see more of the canvas by clicking on this magnifying glass here with the minus sign. I'm going to zoom out. There. Now, I wanted to mention that, I could have moved my floor and aligned it to the grid lines just by moving it with my mouse. But sometimes you can get a more precise movement by using those arrow keys on your keyboard to gently nudge an object into place. Now, with my floor locked into place, my mouse can still detect it. I'll do the click away, meaning I'm going to click on the blank canvas so that nothing is highlighted. So I'm going to do the click away right now. There. Nothing is highlighted. If I click on my floor, the mouse will detect the floor. But I can't move it. I'm trying to move it. I can't move it because it has been locked into place. Alright, our next step is to add some doors and windows. And FYI, when you go to print out your floor plan, if you have the grid turned on, it will print. And if you don't want it to print, just turn off the grid.